Hello and welcome to the full demonstration of GoodEvent Business. So quick background on us. At GoodEvent we build digital tools for the events industry. Each tool can be used on its own as a standalone product, or they can be linked into one holistic system that manages every single part of your event business, and it works and they work for any type of event professional event company. So from rental companies all the way to planners, festival organizers, and so on. So GoodEvent Business is like the most advanced tool we have in terms of how it's going to impact your business, but also how much time it takes to get set up, because it is a software that you would need to, it handles everything. So all of your CRM, your customer management, your quotes, your invoices, your stock control, logistics, staff scheduling, all the main parts of running an event business. Now, throughout this demo, I'm also going to show you how this tool, GoodEvent Business, can be linked to our other tools such as GoodEvent Time, which is for like wages, timesheets, and so on. GoodEvent Layout, which is floor plans. GoodEvent Docs, which is digital forms, and quite a few others. So if you already are on GoodEvent Business, you will be able to see, okay, how can I use other tools in our software and add it to this system? If you're maybe using the floor plan tool or our documents tool, you might be able to then see, okay, what happens if I then switch to GoodEvent Business? Or if you're a brand new customer, this is a great video. It's going to be relatively long, but it is going to give you, like I said at the start, quite a holistic look at all of our tools, but in particular GoodEvent Business. And this also works, like I said earlier, it works for all types of event businesses, but also all sizes. So whether you have just started, whether you're a small company and you do maybe one job a weekend over summer, or you're a multinational business with multiple locations throughout your country, the system will work for you, and it will work wherever you are. So we're in all English-speaking countries. Today the demo is going to be on a UK one, so you're going to see pounds and VAT and miles, but it will work if you're in Australia or the States or Canada or wherever it is. It will work for your currency, the metrics that you use, and so on. Some of the features I show you on here you might not use. You also might use them totally different to how I demo it. I'm going to do a few different quotes. I'm going to do a quote for a furniture only type of business, and then I'm going to do a tent related quote as well, so one with like a marquee. So let's get into it. So our software is cloud based, so it'll work on your phone, it'll work on your laptop, your iPad, and it'll work wherever you are. I just wanted to show you a shop front. So this can be added to your website, and it's powered from your stock. So all your different prices, the rental items or the products that you sub-rent, say maybe you're an event planner and you sub in a lot of your kit, you can still show it on your website if you like. And this allows customers to build quotes. It doesn't allow them to buy online. It just allows them to go in, find your kit, build a quote, or maybe create like a package. A lot of our customers will create packages. And if I go into maybe a chair, so as I said, it's fully linked to your system. So if you were to change the images of the chair or add descriptions, FAQs, upsell items, it will update instantly on the shop. So it'd be your logo, it'd be your contact information, it'd be your URL, and if you like, we can also change the style, the colours, the branding, and so on. So the idea is customers can build a quote. They can't buy online. They build a quote, they put their event information in, and then they send the inquiry. That will then feed straight into the software. So you'll be emailed, but you'll also be sent a notification within your system, and the full quote that they've created will be in the system, built, good to go. By the way, you can also just add an inquiry form to the website, and that will just send contact information, event information straight into the software too, which you can then convert to a quote. So a lot of furniture companies use this tool, the online shop front. A lot of other companies that maybe their quotes are a bit too complicated, maybe it's an event planner or a tent company or whatever it might be, they'll use just the inquiry form just to get the details, and then from there they can build a quote. Okay, so I've jumped into the main dashboard of the system. So this is what you'd be going in every single day. On the dashboard, you've got notifications. You have quotes you did last week compared to this week. Inquiries, either through the website or through the inquiry form. So I can see this one hasn't been quoted for yet. A nice little booking map. So that's just going to show you where your bookings are for the week. So you've got your different colours here. So I can see that most of my all my bookings rather for this week are on Saturday. Then we have a calendar, deliveries and collections, stock issues, and I can also see tasks. So I see I need to organise a site visit with this customer. So that's what I always recommend with our customers. Always create yourself tasks. So every day you just scroll to the bottom and then you can see what you need to do and tick them off, which we'll see later on in the demo. Okay, so let's go ahead and manually build a customer. So let's say it's for Tom Smith, and I'll just use our email. If it's a company, and let's say it's Tom's Food Fest, you need to put some billing information onto the invoice. You can do it like so. And there we go. I've manually added customer in. All of this is linked. So if you're on your phone, you could tap there and give that customer a call, tap to email, or if I click onto this, it's going to open up Google Maps and just show me where they are. What's also quite nice is you can search by pretty much anything. So this is a client's dashboard they have in your system now. So all the quotes you make for them over time, all your invoices, your bookings, you'll find in their dashboard. And I can find clients by searching by name, but then also city or county, zip code or postcode, stock ID, and event number, pretty much anything. Okay, so we're going to start our quote here. So nice big button, start customer's first quote. And here we have all your standard event information. So let's say this is for a wedding quote. And then we've got the venue and we've got the event date. A lot of the times, as you know, customers will not put maybe the site in or when their event's going to be. So you can just skip this at this stage and go in and build the quote. This address here, and you can see straight away it links to Google Maps, and it will tell you how far it is, either in kilometers or miles, and it's going to give you an idea of delivery cost. That's just an idea at this stage. We can go into our cost calculator later on and get a more in-depth look at our fuel costs with how many vehicles we're taking and so on. I'll now put a date in. So I'll just do the day, but you could do it for a week, month, year, but I'm just going to do Saturday. And then we've got another alert. I can see we've got bookings and quotes on that date. And I can go into a report here that will give me an idea of what's been quoted or booked for that date. I'll do my setup dates or takedown dates. Now, depending on the type of business you are, we can change that to be delivery and collection. If you allow customers to pick up kit and return kit, we can also add these buttons here, and that will go into your calendars as different tags. So you can see, okay, today we have 10 pickups, and then we're doing 5 deliveries, for example. We also have a lot of CRM functionality, and this will allow that stands for customer relationship management. So it just basically tools that help you manage clients from new inquiries to repeat customers. And some little fields we have here to help you with that is sales probability. So mostly a customer will make an inquiry and they'll likely start on a low chance of a sale. So there's a low probability of booking. But then as you deal with that customer, you can move them to medium, to high, and so on. And then, I clicked on that by accident. We also have booking types, and we can customize these for you. And then we also have some more event-specific ones. So we have the venues confirmed and also the date. The reason being, customers are far more likely to book if they have a date. So now in our quotes report, which you will see later on, I can make a search for high chances of booking, weddings, with a date and with a site. And if I want, I could also put in this date range. And then that will list off customers who have, or inquiries, I should say, leads who are far more likely to become customers. And you'll see that later on. Okay, in here you can add additional contact information, you can also add a task as well. On this day is going to organise a meeting, and that task will be added to Bo's calendar and his task report. So on the day, he knows what to do. Right, so there's quite a lot of ways to build a quote, and like I said at the start, we're going to do a couple quotes. We're going to do a furniture only quote, and then we will do we'll do a tent specific quote first. So if you don't have tents, skip a little bit forward, and then I'll do a furniture one after that as well. When you're building quotes, you can do it in multiple ways. So firstly, I'm in here a sample quote library. So what is that? It's basically a pre-built library of sample quotes. So here's all the ones that I've created. In here you can see how often they've been quoted for, how often they've been booked, so you get a conversion rate. And that's a package for 120 guests, and it's for a tent, a 9 by 27 meter or a 30 by 90 foot with chairs, tables, etc. for 120 guests. So of course, if my inquiry came in and matched that, I don't need to build the quote from scratch. I can just hit plus, and my quote's built in seconds, and I can customize that individual quote for that client. I can also, if I scroll to here, click more and copy a quote from an existing customer. So maybe I've booked something in a month ago and I'm like, oh, it's at the same venue. I can just pull those items across. But what we're going to do is build a bespoke quote. So we're going to do a 9 meter marquee, and we're going to add in some options. So I'll put in 10 round tables. Okay, so you can see when I added those tables, a alert has flagged up. I've added 10 tables in for this quote, and now the system is telling me that we actually have -1 on that day. I can go into that in a bit more detail. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to pull up bookings plus quotes. Okay, so reminder, this is bookings plus quotes. So if I click customers, I can see, okay, I've got one book. So one customer's booked one of these, and now I've quoted for 10, which is the quote we're on at the moment. And if I go into my stock, I can see, well, the issue is I have 10 in stock. One's been booked by another customer, and I've just quoted for 10. So that means we're going to be -1. So let's look at bookings only. And I can see from there, well, with bookings, I've got 9 available. But as you just saw, once I book this in, I've just quoted for myself for 10. So we are going to be on -1. However, I'm going to go back to bookings plus quotes, because if this client that I'm building a quote for books with us, we are going to have an issue. So I'm going to look at our second location and pull up the stock there. And I can see, okay, there's 30 tables available in the Bristol location. So what I could do is create a stock transfer from Bristol to Exeter for the 1 or 5 or 10 tables, whatever I want to do, and send it across so I know I've got enough kit on that date. Okay, so let's add a dance floor to the quote, and now I'm going to go to additional marquee detail. Okay, so what you're seeing here at the top is this tent is 30 by 10 foot or 9 by 3 meters, and it's showing we have a negative amount of space in that structure. And that's because we've added 10 round tables and a dance floor, which would of course not fit inside a 9 by 3 meter. So the system is calculating how much space those items will take up based on default dimensions that we can add and you can customize. So for an example, a table, like a 5'6" round table, would usually go in as a 10-foot square, so there's enough space for your seats and people to stand and stuff. So it's saying, okay, it has to be at least a 9 by 15. And if we look at the red, which I've highlighted, that will now turn to some usable space. But we want to make that bigger. But before I do that, I'm going to also put some floor and some linings in. So I'll make the tent bigger. As I do that, keep your eyes locked onto the tick boxes and the size. And you can see, look, that's showing me how many bays I have inside this structure, but it's also recalculating the cost for the tent, the floor, the lining, and updating my pick list. Same if I were to go down. And by the way, this tent's been put in to go up in bays, but if you do stretch tents, teepees, pagodas, whatever it might be, that structures that's just an individual tent, We can change the settings for that type of tent. So you're just saying, okay, I want 4 teepees for this quote rather than it working in bays. You can also customize the pricing manually as you're building the quote. You can untick bays. So if I don't want linings or floor throughout the tent, I can actually untick like so. Now update the cost and the load list, but I'm just going to cancel that. Because I've also got what we call a stock rule. So a stock rule will automatically update your pick list based on what you do in the quote. And there's lots of stock rules you can create for weights, for scissors and wires, but the most common one we or our customers will build is for clear ceiling tops or panels. What will happen now is I've added in 2 clear ceiling panels, so it will remove 2 of my white roofs, but also lining roofs because I've added them to the quote, and that will be done automatically so the customer doesn't see, but my load list will update. Okay, I'm going to chuck in some lighting now, and we're going to jump into the quote. Okay, and what we're going to see from here is some more stock warnings. So I'm going to go into this stock warning for the tent, and this is how the system will manage your stock or inventory at a component level. So these are all the items that we need to build this tent. This could also work for any kit. So whether it's a bar, whether it's a dance floor, you can create your own kits within the system. We click shortages and okay, I haven't got enough base plates, I don't have enough purlins. I can see who's booked on those dates. I can see delivery dates in blue, pickup dates in green, and red is the event date. So in this example, tent's being set up on the Thursday. Friday, the tent's being left there. It's not the event, so it's a black tag. The red tag is showing that's the event date and it's getting picked up on Sunday. So I can't do this tent. I could search for a different type of tent up here. Okay, so we're still going to have issues with the sail tent because of the base plates. So maybe instead of looking for a different tent, what I could do is look at a different weekend. So let's look at the next 4 weekends. Often the customer won't have a particular weekend in mind, and you can scroll across until you find the green date. But it looks like on my demo account, we've got some issues with these purlins. So what you might do then at this stage is create a sub-rental request or a quote request or a purchase order, whatever you call it, and you do that super easily by clicking the item, go to create PO, and then here would be all your different vendors that you work with, and then you can send out a quote request for that particular component you're low on or the rental item you're low on and manage all your purchase orders through the software. But just for time, I'm going to skip through that because I know not everyone will use that feature. While we have this selected, I'm going to click on the left hand side and I'm going to just show you some other tools we have. So we've got additional fees. This allows you to add in discounts. It allows you to add in price increases. This can be automated to particular products. So if you're a cutlery or crockery company, you could have a cleaning fee that's automatically applied when you add those types of items to a quote. We can hide the rate. So what that will do is hide the itemized costs, and we can bulk delete as well. Okay, so I'm going to just go out of there. I'm going to add in some quote titles, put 2 of them in, and this just allows you to further categorize the quote or allow you to add in additional information about product, like to be by client. And I'm going to drag the furniture category up to here, and then I'll put in the additional information about the festoon lighting below it. Okay, so now I'm going to add in an optional extra. That will go into the customer's quote. So it's a fantastic way of upselling. Okay, so I'm going to go to the cost calculator in just a sec, but before I do, I'm going to create a quote for a non-tent specific event. So whether you just do furniture or power or toilets, this is how you would quote. Or if you're like a wedding planner or festival planner, this is how I recommend that you would build a quote. So I'm going to go back into this one. I'm going to call it option B. I'm going to skip all of this and I am going to go to build quote, click bulk add line items. Okay, so this has pulled up my entire stock list, and all of these descriptions, all of these categories would just be yours. So if you use meters and not feet, obviously that would show up in meters there. So what's fantastic about this tool is it puts every single item in a long list like this. So if I want to just go in and chuck in items like so, I can do, but I can also search. Okay, and then you just sort of work your way through like this. I want 100, let's say 200 folding chairs, 11 wooden high, and let's just put it. Okay, and then you hit add, and all those items get added to the quote super fast. And then from here again, we can add in quote titles if we want to further categorize the quote, drag that up and down like so, drag that up and down like so, and then we might say outside seating, for example. Okay, so let's go back into the tent quote because we did have a date in there, so we can look at some more stock warnings and just get a bit more data from the quote for this demo. Right, so let's scroll to the bottom and we're going to go into our cost calculator. You can build this yourself and there's loads of different cost types to choose from. For example, we've got staff for setup, takedowns, collections and deliveries. And we recommend you do this as a day rate. So I'm going to say I need 5 seasonal staff and 2 agency. So that agency or these agency members will be on a higher day rate than the seasonal. And then same with managers and foremen and so on. Vehicles, so you put a cost for fuel per kilometre or per mile. The system talks to Google Maps, so it knows how far the job is from your yard. Then you're detailing which vehicles you're taking on each day of setup and takedown. So if there was 4 days of setup, 4 days of takedown, you would have day 1, day 2, day 3. And then it's just multiplying all of this together to give you a very accurate idea of fuel cost. So this is my cost calculator, but like I just said, you can customize this and build it yourself. But in my one, I have plant hire costs, and I've actually matched these to vendors. So if I were to add this boom lift in, the system will automatically draft a purchase order for this item from this vendor at this cost. And then if I did actually need to sub it in, I can then turn that from a draft into a live purchase order and customize any of the information if I need to. Commission costs, that's how you can create a percentage type of costing. Square meter costs, this will be often done for flooring, for example. And then you can also just have an ad hoc price like so. So I'm going to skip all of this. Hopefully you get the idea of how that works now. And I'm going to scroll to the bottom of my quote and I shall see what my margins are. So go all the way down. Okay, so it's cost me 4.7. I'm making 4.8, which is just over 50%. If I needed to bump this up, I can look at my margins above and I can change the cost. So I'll just charge more for delivery. And then I can scroll back down and that will update below. You can use that tool for quotes. So before you send the quote out, you can make sure it is profitable, but you can also use it while you're doing the job, which is very powerful for any repeat bookings you do each year, because you can put those costs in as they happen. So when you do the job next year, you have some data to go back on, or to look back on rather, and hopefully make your margins better. Okay, so a couple quick fire things I want to go through right now. And all of these tools and processes we've built have always had one objective in mind, and that is how do we streamline the communication between what happens in the office with the guys on site. So a really simple way this can be done is with notes. So you can use this for all your standard office notes that only the team inside the office needs to see, but then you can also use it for on-site information. So gate code is this, access via south entrance. So that's obviously a really important bit of information that the team are going to need to know in 6 months' time or whenever this job is, because you don't want them to turn up at the west entrance and not know the code. So it's little bits of communication like this that can massively either impact the job in a good way or a bad way, which is going to cost you money. So I'm going to show that on the load list. I'm going to show it on the delivery note, and I'll put it on the staff schedule. You can also show notes onto the customer's quote, so it's something that they need to know, you can click here. And then that would actually show up. Okay, it's client visible. Here we have attachments. So let's pretend that the client has sent a picture of the garden and they're like, look, this is where I want you to create the event and build the tents or deliver the equipment. You can upload that image and then you can show that on the quote, on the load list, and so on. Okay, so another thing that I can do is create a layout, and this will automatically generate based on the tent size, either in meters or feet, the tables and the dance floor I've quoted for. You can then move these items around like so, and then below you can add other products that are maybe missing that haven't been automatically generated, and within 30 seconds you can, oh, did one too many, so hit save, and that has created a floor plan which I can show on my customer's quote on my load list. And again, that took me less than 30 seconds. If you need to make more advanced load lists, sorry, not load lists, if you need to make more advanced floor plans, we recommend that you use this tool. And this again will work for any tent type. So let's go into a TP. So there's a TP that I've made for 3 TPs. But it'll also work for venues. So if you're a festival organizer and you need to do like an award show, there we go. It's quite a big one that I've drawn. Like, it's not a tent that I've used. I've created a shape, and this can then be linked, like I just done, to my customer's quote, to my load list, and so on. And what I just showed you then was GoodEvent Layout. So that's our floor plan tool that you can see links to GoodEvent Business. And this one is what we call GoodEvent Maps, and this is used for bigger events like, I don't know, food festivals, large like sporting events, or a wedding, to be honest. But you can use it for anything, and you can see it links again to GoodEvent Business. When you click on Create Map, it will pull up the Google Maps of the event location you put in. You can then add in items like stages, tents, bars. You can draw areas like I've done here, and then again share it and link it to GoodEvent Business. And then finally, we've got GoodEvent Docs. So GoodEvent Docs is a digital form tool. You can use it for any type of form in your business. So whether that's a new staff form where they record emergency contact information, whether it's for client discovery forms, site surveys, hazard safety tests, whatever, you can make it into a digital form. And then that allows you to link it to quotes, load list, delivery notes, and all your submissions are stored online. So whenever you need to find, for example, a site survey that happened 6 months ago, you've got it there. And I'll show you how easy it is to do that. You click on Create Doc. That's going to pull up all the docs you've made in your document, in GoodEvent Docs rather. And I've got loads in here, so excuse the amount I've got. Click Create. And now I could either send that link to my team, email it, or if I go back into this page, I can link it to my load list, delivery note, and also the quote. Okay, so we need to send this quote, or these quotes rather, to the customer. A couple ways we can do that. One way is if I just click at the bottom of this event, enable customer chat, that's actually going to send an email automatically to my client that just says, hey, something like, if you have any questions about this quote, click here. And I'm going to come back to that in a second. Other ways you can send your quotes is obviously just by a PDF. So if I go into the dashboard, here's my 2 quotes. I can just click PDF and then send that to my client. Or if I add it to the dashboard, I can click this button, send dashboard email. That will send an email from your email address to the customer's quote with a message inside, and you can see in communications when and who sent that email. So the link opens up the customer dashboard, which should of course be branded with your logo, your socials, your brand colors, and so on. And the client can access this without login details. So from their phone, their iPad, whatever it is, they can go onto this without logins, only see the quotes and invoices for them. You They can also go into the docs that you've added, and of course a quote in more detail. So let's go into that. Okay, so all of this can be customized: the layout, the colors, what type of image gallery you would like, and these images, by the way, are pulled from the images you've added to the stock item. So the customer kind of gets their own individual brochure for every quote you build them. If I scroll down, again, all this can be customized. The colors, you can quote, or you can exclude it, and you can have your optional extras on the right hand side, like so. Images can either be a blue icon, like that allows your customer to click on, or it can be embedded in the line items. I've got the docs there, I've got the notes there, I've got the image of that the customer sent to me. Now, this can be updated in real time. So if you're on the phone to a client and they say, look, we want the archway and we also need some more chairs, while you're chatting with them on the phone, or maybe you're on the customer's site, you can go ahead and add the item in and include more tables. So just chuck in 20 tables. It's going to update. So here's the arch and here's those 20 tables. Now, when a customer wants to book, they're usually going to click request to book. And that's going to email you from your email address, and it's going to link you to the quote in question. Once you've done your checks, you would confirm the booking. Now, because I've confirmed the booking, the customer can now sign the terms and conditions digitally from the quote. When they sign that, you will be notified. When it's time to create the invoice, you click create. And let's pretend the customer has paid the deposit, and the booking updates like it usually will. If you just look at the cost above, what's that, $7,000? So I'll increase it by quite a lot. That balance will just automatically update with the booking, whether it's getting cheaper or more expensive. If I put a due date in, the system will then send that invoice on that date. So in summer, you know all of your balance invoices will be going out on time. However, that feature can be turned off. You can also create payment plans. And now you'll see we've got a third invoice. Let's make a fourth. And you get the idea. So you can create as many invoices as you like. You can also accept any payment method. We integrate with Stripe. So if you want your customers to pay via card, that can be integrated. But of course, you can accept cash, check, online banking, and so on. We also integrate with accounting software such as Xero. So if you'd like to see how that works, get in touch and we can show you. Okay, right. So we've booked in the events. We're now going to go into some reporting, and then we'll go into logistics. So first, let's look at the quotes report. This will help you follow up with good leads and get rid of bad leads. So I'm going to go to the table view. And I'm going to pull up the quotes created in just like a random month. So these are customers that either haven't booked yet or haven't been archived because they're time wasters. And we have information in here that will help me follow up with a good lead and get rid of a bad one. So firstly, on the left, we can see who made it in our team. So that's the initials of the sales agent. When it was most recently updated, if there's a good profit margin, and how often they're looking at the quote. So obviously, if a customer has only looked at the quote once, maybe it's too expensive, or maybe they need to be followed up with, they've just forgotten. But if they've looked at it a lot of times and there's a good chance they're going to book, they should probably get called up and sent an invoice. And as soon as you confirm the booking, the client would be removed from this list because it's a leads list. And same if you were to archive the client by clicking the red bin icon, again, they'll be removed from the list. We can look at this in a Kanban view. We can look at it in a pipeline view, put your client's events and date in their event date. And we also have some cool stats that we can look at as well, which is always nice for managers, I know. Okay, so let's go invoicing. Similar looking report. So if I go to all invoices, and I just want to look at all invoices from the start of the year to today's date. So in here, it will show overdue invoices and it will highlight them. I can send reminders from here. I can view the invoice. If I go into unpaid, I can mark the invoice as paid with one click. And if you do integrate with Xero, for example, you can click create in Xero and it'll send it straight to Xero. We have invoice concerns. That's often credit notes. That's often balance invoices that haven't yet been created. And again, we get stats. Okay. So this year, how many invoices have been sent? What's the revenue? What's due? What's overdue? And then what's the total? We also have a bookings report. Again, quite similar. Our clients love this because they can click and print off load lists and delivery notes in bulk. So if you needed to print off a month's or a year's worth of load lists, you can do that. We also have this in a timeline view. Okay, so if I want to look at today's date until October, and if I want to make this page bigger, I can just look at 100 results per page. Okay, I'll quickly go through the Analytics Hub because there is about 60 reports in here, so I don't need to go through all of them. All of these drop downs are reports, but ones that our clients like the most is highest grossing city. So where are most of my customers from? So then of course I could do some ads. I can also look at that, but like best performing months in here. But this one's usually the highest, or the most used, I should say, highest grossing item. So now I can see which items are doing well, which ones are being rented, which ones are sat in the warehouse collecting dust, and I can print all these off in an Excel, or download rather. Okay, so let's go into logistics, and this is our staff and vehicle scheduling tool. So as you can see, you can select who you'd like to work and which vehicles they need to take, and then drag them into the setup, the delivery, or a stock transfer. I can also set times if I want to this. So if you're doing multiple drops in one day, you can then choose, okay, this one might be going at 8 a.m, this one's 9, and so on. And then that will put those jobs in chronological order, i.e. the earliest ones will be at the top and the latest ones will be at the bottom of the list. So if I go into the crew view now, this can be accessed by your team without any login details, and you can share this with a link or print off QR codes. Your team then can scan that QR code or click the link every day. They don't need to log in, and they can access everything you see here. So if I go to Wednesday, Saturday, your staff members can search for their name up here or the vehicles that they tend to use, and it'll pull up what they're doing. From here, they can access the load lists, the delivery notes, and directions via Google Maps. They've also got the staff and vehicle view. This works amazingly on mobile view, and this will put the drops in order. So it will show, right, which events you go into at what time. If you use our tool GoodEvent Time, you can also get staff to find their rotas. They can clock in and clock out. They can request holidays through here as well. But I'm not going to go into this in too much detail on this video. If you'd like to find more about GoodEvent Time, which is our payroll timesheet software, there's another video, full day. Okay, so let's go to the Jobs Hub. This is quite a cool report. This is what you'll be using in your busy season every single day, and we recommend that you just have this up in the warehouse. So I'm going to go to Wednesday, and we can see we've got one event, so it's just nice and simple to look at. And what we're going to focus on is picked, packed, delivered, and collected. And you can actually change these. We call them stock states. So you can choose which appear, which don't, and you can change the titles. As default, it'll be picked, packed, delivered, and collected. So we're going to go into a load list, and you're going to see what happens. So I'm going to look at, yeah, this is okay. So we've got customer details, delivery details. We've got the instructions we added. We have document there that we linked. We can add in boxes and stillages, and we've got this in different views. So we've got a marquee view and a category view. Marquee view will split the load list up by the tents you're building, or the category view will just consolidate it into one list. So if you're a furniture only company, you wouldn't see the marquee one, you'd just have category. So I'm going to pick these items, and we always recommend you have one person picking and then another person packing, just as a nice little fail-safe. And because I've picked it, it's now gone from not started into in progress. So these reports are happening in real time, or sorry, updating in real time. Same if someone packs it. Also on the load list, you have warehouse location, you can have images, and you have a combined weight total. And at the very bottom, your staff can mark as picked and packed. And by the way, these can be printed or used digitally, and like I said earlier, they don't need logins to do this. We also have a delivery note, and that is a quote without pricing. So customer details, delivery details with your client, you can then mark, say what's been delivered, what's been collected. You can upload a picture of the site once everything's set up, get the customer to sign to show they're happy, and then again, your staff can sign as well. And one last tool we have is a collection note. This is mostly used by, I would say, catering companies or anyone that has products that need to be cleaned or every time they go out or they've been damaged. And this just allows you to easily update stock. So when something's been delivered, maybe 10 went out, but only 8 were collected. That means 2 are missing. And then from here, you can update your stock and send out replacement invoices if you do that. Okay, we're nearly at the end of the demo. I'm just going to go through a couple more bits. The bulk stock manager allows you to maintain your system, add stock, delete stock, update costs, pricing, etc. Super easy digitally. So if I want to reduce my items, I can do that. If I want to reduce the costs, I can do that. If I want to add more in, again, I can do that. If you're making lots of changes, you can also download a spreadsheet and upload those changes at once. Okay, so we've also got the task report, and this will just help you do those daily jobs that you have, whether it's fixing a generator or whether it's calling up to organize a site visit. Once you've done the task, you can mark it's complete. You can see who the task is for and who created that task as well. Okay, and one other tool we have, which is actually new, is the Content Hub. And this will just allow you to easily create posts for your social media accounts. So you can see what it does is it pulls data about a particular event, such as how many days on site, how many vehicles were loaded, how far did you travel, and so on. You can also look at like stats like this, like where do we travel, Polaroid versions, and so on. So it's just an easy way to download a bit of content and share it onto your socials. Oh, and the last thing that I didn't show you, which I forgot, is just your calendar. So it's what you would expect. All your events, your bookings, your setups, your takedowns, if you like, your quotes, your follow-ups will be added automatically to your calendar. In those will be linked the event, the load list, the delivery note. This can also integrate with Google. And if you use GoodEvent Time, you can also show shifts on the calendar as well as holidays, requested holidays, and so on. So if you want to watch more videos about GoodEvent Time, go to the YouTube page or the socials, and you'll be able to find a full demo. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to go through on this demo. I appreciate it's quite a long one, so if you stuck around to the end, thank you so much. If you want to have a demo more based around your business, your products, your services, please do get in touch. In terms of the setup, it depends on the business, of course, how many items of kit you have, how many bookings you need to get across. But we've invested heavily into setting up accounts because we appreciate the main reason people don't leave old systems that they might not like is because it's just a big commitment. We can fully set up your account in a day to 2 to 4, depends on the company, of course. And that will include getting everything set up, all of your stock, inventory moved over, your kits built if you have kits, all your bookings on, your quotes on, absolutely everything. You can just be logged in doing the training within a few days. There's a cost to that, of course. It takes us a few days, so there is a cost to that. So if you'd like a quote, please get in touch and we'll let you know what we need in order to give you a quote. Like I said at the start, this system works for any type of event business, whether you're an event planner or a multinational marquee hire tent rental business. So if you're a small company, a big company, or just started out, the system will work for you. If you're thinking, I'm not ready to use GoodEvent Business yet because it's a big investment in terms of time and like learning and switching, that's fine. Check out the other tools, GoodEvent Layout, which is the floor plan tool, GoodEvent Maps, GoodEvent Docs, GoodEvent Times. All of those tools you can use in seconds without a demo. Like if you need to make a floor plan for an event, go into GoodEvent Layout. Within a few minutes, you'll know how to use it, and then you can start building all of your event layouts on that system. And then eventually you might say, right, I'm ready to now look at GoodEvent Business and link the 2 tools together. But yeah, thanks for your time, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.